Hey everyone, welcome today. We have the Flood Control District here to talk about the Maintenance Matters program. Unfortunately, Commissioner couldn't be here, but he has a taped video message for you all, so I'll play that right now.
Hello and thank you for being here. Today's conversation is about something that affects every neighborhood in Harris County, how we maintain the flood control system that protects our communities from disaster. After Hurricane Harvey, we made major investments.
What was their feedback?
Hello and thank you for being here. Today's conversation is about something that affects every neighborhood in Harris County, how we maintain the flood control system that protects our communities from disaster. After Hurricane Harvey, we made major investments in flood mitigation projects across the county. But building projects is only part of the work. Maintenance is what keeps the system functioning, clearing channels, repairing infrastructure, and making sure we're ready before the next storm arrives. In November of 2024, voters made their priorities clear by approving additional funding dedicated specifically to maintenance. That was a commitment to not just build, but to take care of what we've built. Just as important is how we decide where that work happens. It has to be data-driven, transparent, and equitable, focusing on areas with the greatest need, communities that have experienced repeated flooding, and neighborhoods that have too often been overlooked. This meeting is about making sure you understand what the Maintenance Matters program is, what has been done, what's underway, and what comes next. My office believes residents deserve clear answers, where work is happening, why it's happening there, and how decisions are made. That's how we build trust and deliver better results. Your input is essential. You see issues firsthand, and your feedback helps guide this work. Thank you for being engaged and for helping us make sure this investment delivers real results for our communities.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Today's time.
All right. There we go. All right. With that, I'm pleased to introduce the Flood Control District. They're going to talk about their Maintenance Matters program. I'm sure they'll cover this, but in November of 2024, the voters passed Proposition A, which allowed additional funding for maintenance matters. And at my time at the Flood Control District, I was happy to help support and work with these fine folks to get this program started. So I thought it'd be important, we thought it'd be important to get Flood Control to talk a bit about some of the work they're doing and more about the program. And with that, I'll turn it over to Flood Control District.
Hello, everybody. It's lovely to be here with you this evening. My name's Emily Waddell. I'm with the Flood Control District, as Jaisal said. Before I dive into the presentation, I did want to note that we have Dylan Epley in the lobby. He's the guy with the really bulky laptop. He is one of our property managers, and his job is to take service requests from the community and to make sure that they turn into projects, that they get run down, and that we kind of see where they go. So if you have any specific concerns following this presentation, definitely talk to him, and he'll make sure that they stay on our radar. So I'll cover that again at the end, but wanted to mention that. So thank you for spending your evening with us on this fine Thursday, I believe. So really what we want to talk about is flood control, maintenance, and specifically how you all can help us guide this work. Ultimately, this is community-driven work, and we're going to talk about quite a bit of that. We'll talk about what maintenance looks like both on the ground and behind the scenes. So as Jaisal mentioned, kind of how some of these decisions get made about the work that we do. We'll talk about the progress that we made in the first year of funding, and we will also talk about how you can really help drive the future of this. We will be opening up for questions at the end, and I know we have some folks joining online as well, so there will be ample opportunity for conversation coming out of the meeting. So it wouldn't be a flood control district presentation if I didn't start with a little bit about us, just to kind of level set. So the Flood Control District has been around since 1937, so that's almost 90 years of serving Harris County. And our mission is simple, but it's really complex. So we plan, we implement, and we maintain flood risk reduction projects. And we do all of that work while being guided by community and natural values. And I think it's important to note, I don't have to tell this group, that we really do live in an area that is shaped by water. So part of our job is to figure out how do we live with that water effectively and make sure that it's not in our homes and instead in our bayous. So as Jason mentioned, and Commissioner, back in November 2024, Harris County voters approved an additional $100 million in annual funding. And all of that funding is dedicated to the maintenance of flood control district infrastructure. The flood control district is funded through our own tax rate, and that tax rate is what funds this work. So it is, all a service to the residents of Harris County. So with this funding, our crews are really staying busy. Our priorities for year one and now year kind of 1.5 have been really responding to resident requests. That was one of the primary things that we really wanted to prioritize. We also were really focused on tackling, frankly, a decades-long backlog of work that we knew needed to be done and addressed across the ecosystem of our infrastructure. And then also, as we're looking ahead, making sure that we're planning for the future, building a catalog of work and a catalog of assets that we can work against as we look ahead. So in Harris County, our drainage infrastructure is massive, and you can really see that here on the screen. It's a little jumpy, but each of those blue lines is a channel that is maintained and managed by the Flood Control District. We work across 23 watersheds. All of those are natural drainage areas that really help shape our landscape. Those watersheds include 2,500 miles of channel, and if you think about it, that's actually the distance from LA to New York. There are 280 stormwater detention basins that the Flood Control District owns and maintains. There are many, many more across Harris County, but these are the ones that are within our purview. And then there are about 50,000 acres of land that we also work with. So a little bit about our jurisdiction. So in addition to the unincorporated areas of Harris County, we have 32 municipalities within the county limits. Which makes for a complex but really efficient ecosystem. So our agency can partner with these other cities, precincts, local agencies on work. But ultimately, storm drains and the streets and roadside ditches are managed by Harris County or those underlying municipalities. Our job is to make sure that once the water gets into the bayou, it stays in the bayou. So stormwater drains into the bayou, and then it's really our job to kind of get it out to Galveston Bay. So for 30 years, our crews really stretched every dollar. And, we live in an area where our infrastructure is aging. A lot of our initial channels and basins and things like that actually went into the ground, in the 1980s, the 1990s. And so we're seeing some of that aging infrastructure start to catch up with us, right? And if you don't have dedicated funding for maintenance, you're not able to really take care of that infrastructure and make sure it's working effectively. And that's really why this investment has mattered so much. So it's helping us care for what we've already built, support that new infrastructure as it comes online. We're building new infrastructure every day. And then all of it really making sure that it keeps serving people. So I'm going to turn it over to the man who leads all of this work, Jason Cron, to kind of talk about some of our core maintenance activities and what this really looks like on the ground.
Thank you, Emily. Good evening. Thank you, Emily. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jason Cron. I'm the Chief Infrastructure and Operations Officer for the district. And I'm very happy to be here tonight to speak with you all about what we have going on with our Maintenance Matters program. As Emily mentioned, I'm going to talk about some of our core maintenance activities, and we kind of view these as categories of work that take place across the district. So the first type of category of work that I'd like to talk to you all about is our repair and replace program. And it's just like that said, like what it means. With the replacement focused on upgrades, improvements, a lot of times those are major projects that require engineering, design, and construction. And then the repair portion many times can be done through work order contracts and smaller things. Still very critical work, still work that needs to take place. But it's all work focused on getting out there, focusing on the drainage infrastructure of our channel systems, as well as Emily mentioned, working with partners where their drainage facilities tie in to that nexus. So it's very important to always remember those jurisdictional boundaries. And as a district, there's certain things we can do, certain things we can't do. But where these jurisdictional areas tie in, we can always reach out to our partners with the cities, the MUDs, and other areas and say, hey, we have a joint need here, a joint focus. How can we work together? How can we focus on improving some of these things? With a good example being an outfall, as you can see in this picture. Those outfalls tied to the adjacent roadway infrastructure. So the roadways, municipalities, cities, MUDs get that water to our channel system. We maintain it there, but we share that common nexus. Just wanted to point that out in this picture. Another core area that we do a tremendous amount of work on is what we call our preventative maintenance category. And so as Emily mentioned earlier, 2,500 miles of channel, 280 detention basins, 50,000 acres. To put that in retrospect, that's New York to LA. And our preventative maintenance activities are focused on managing the vegetation on those channels, getting out and doing the work that it takes to keep them clear of woody debris from growing up. Those channels are meant to convey, and the basins are meant to store. And if we get too much woody debris growing in the channels, it can impede that conveyance. So we want to make sure we target those activities of mowing, taking care of debris in the channel systems, stuff that ends up in there, as well as planting trees and doing other things of that nature. So anything vegetation related falls within that category. The next category we have is what we call our forward-looking work. This is work where we can work with sponsors, partnerships. An example of a partnership I'll use is the district partners with Harris County Office of County Engineer, and we provide them funding so they can go out and make repairs to outfalls on channel systems where we have a mutual benefit, where their roadway outfall ties into our channel and those things are aging. So we partner with them. We help share resources and understanding of where things need to take place. That's a way that we can get more work done. Other areas where we're looking at forward-looking maintenance is amenities. So as a district, we cannot install recreational features, but we can allow sponsors to. And many times the precincts, the MUDs, and other agencies will put in trails. They'll mow those trails a little more frequently. A lot of times we get questions on that. Why does this get mowed more than the channel? It's because the trail sponsor, the amenity sponsor, is doing more so with those things. But it's a way to help have a shared use with the community, to reduce mowing footprint on the district, as well as you can see in this picture, wildflower planting. So we do plant quite a bit of wildflowers throughout the district. It's a way to help reduce some of that mowing in the springtime. It also adds to the local ecology through pollinators and bugs and all the natural things that occur in the springtime that everybody likes to see. And then the last category I want to talk about is our FAST program. This is something new that we were able to establish with our funding. This is dedicated resources that we're using to bring on more employees, more equipment to get out and do the work quickly. When the service requests come in, when the calls come in, this is a way where we can flex and we can move quickly on things that need to be taken care of with a very quick nature. And the FAST for the FAST program stands for Fast Action Service Teams. We're really working hard on ramping it up. We've been seeing a lot of good work come out of this program, and it's something we're very proud of. So in looking at year one and talking a little bit about what we accomplished for fiscal year 25, year one of the program, we restored over 100 miles of channel system. When that restoration, that means including addressing erosion, where channels try to leave the right-of-way, removing sedimentation so we maintain that capacity so the channels can convey, as well as repairing features such as outfalls along those channel systems. And to put that in perspective, that goes from Houston to Beaumont. That was FY25, and we're definitely looking to eclipse that for FY26. Another comment on accomplishments for fiscal year 25, more than 280,000 linear feet of sediment removal. So sediment, it'll accumulate in the bottom of the channel. It's something that's necessary that we go in, we clean out to restore that system capacity so it can function as needed. And to put that in perspective, that stretches from Houston to Galveston Beach. Another big accomplishment is debris removal. So one of the activities that falls within that preventative maintenance category is the removal of debris from our channel systems. That could be organic debris or inorganic debris. Organic debris could be from trees, deadfall, limbs that end up in our channel systems. Channel systems convey not only stormwater, but sediment and woody debris, natural debris. So that's something that we continuously have to deal with. In addition to that, if we have a major storm event and we need to go out and clear channels after a hurricane, that preventative maintenance crew is the one that goes out there and does that work as well. As you can see in this photo, unfortunately, as the district buys out properties and we have buyout lots, we do also get a lot of illegal dumping. So there's a tremendous amount of inorganic debris that ends up in our channel systems that we try to work hard to keep clean, to get out of these areas. We do partner as well. I'd like to point out we partner with Harris County Constable Precinct Number 1. Their Laws Against Environment or Crimes Against Environment group. They're a great advocate for us. They help us try to monitor some of these hotspot areas, put out video recordings to try to catch folks doing illegal dumping so we can bring that to law. Also, sometimes we'll catch folks out trying to dump dry cleaning materials or other stuff like that that we have to clean up. They've been a great partner and a great advocate, and we're always looking for areas to partner with other groups, to help each other, and to understand we're all in this together. Another accomplishment we had in year one is we tripled the number of repair projects that we completed. So to give you an example, I know specifically in year one for Precinct 1, we completed 46 work order projects. Those are those repair projects across the precinct. We also got moving on 13 major projects that needed design. 3 of those were completed. 13 got started, so 16 in total there. Overall, in total, for the entire county, we tripled that number in FY25 with the amount of projects we were able to move on. Also in year one, we reached nearly 200 rapid response projects. This is directly to that FAST team that I mentioned. This is the team that gets out and addresses things quickly. So you can see some examples in the photo to the top right. That was a culvert that a district channel ran through. We were able to get out there and get that cleaned up with a combination of in-house services that conducted downstream of those outfalls, as well as our service contractor Ames that cleaned out that outfall. Another photo to the left, I believe, was on Carpenter's Bayou, N104. That's where we got out and we removed some sediment plugs and we got that sediment back draining. That was a combination effort of some repair work as well as some vegetation management work, as there were some trees down along that channel system. And now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our countywide service request. So this map shows you the 2025 service request from January 1 through September. So 9 months. That shows you it was over 1,400 service requests that were received. You could see the ones that were closed, the ones that were active. Sometimes when these service requests come in, there are things we can jump on immediately. We know the community's out and about. In the evenings, they may be walking their dog and call in a shopping cart or dump tires or debris. That stuff we can get out there and address quickly. Sometimes the community calls in a blockage or something that needs something a little more, and that ends up going to a project level that requires environmental permitting and other due diligence take place before that can happen. As a general rule of thumb, as we ramped up in FY25, we had a little over 70% closure of these types of call-ins occurring within 60 days. And I believe it was around 1,400 in total during that time period. And for us to reduce that amount to 60 days is just a testament to the resources we got in. A lot of these service requests, when they come in, the gentleman sitting out in the lobby today taking service requests and getting requests from folks, a lot of times, as Emily mentioned earlier about that jurisdictional piece, some of these requests, when they come into us, the citizen just doesn't know. They don't realize that it might be a City of Houston issue. It might be a City of Houston channel, and they see a channel and think flood control. So a lot of times these service requests end up maybe not in a service request from the district because it's not in our jurisdiction, but it might end up in a call or a point to that citizen in the right direction to say, this is a city issue, this is a mud issue. It's something we can't address, but we can definitely help point you in the right direction to get this resolved. All right, and then how we report our issues. So we get issues like this noted through routine inspections. As mentioned earlier in that category for vegetation management, we have vegetation management inspectors that are out checking the work that takes place after mowings. When they see issues, they'll call them in. We'll take service requests. Just like the individual in the lobby today is taking service requests, you can go on our website and submit a service request there. Additionally, we can use our 311 Harris County system, and the intake for service requests there will get routed over to the district as well. That 311 system has also been very useful with this additional funding. We've been able to holistically focus on encampments, and we've done that through a very holistic approach, working with local groups and advocacy groups and law enforcement groups that can get out there, get the right services to these individuals that need them, and we can get them out of harm's way. A lot of times these encampments end up on district property, down in a channel or a danger area where we wouldn't want someone to get hurt. So that's another great example of how we use not only the service requests, but the funding we've got to help with that issue. And then the way the service request works, the community will submit the request. The request comes in, the property manager will go out and assess. They'll make the call on what needs to take place if it's district. If not, we will circle back with the resident and let them know that it's another agency that they need to reach out to. And then if it's a district issue, it'll move over to the right group in the district. We will address the issue, and then there will be a circle back to the citizen letting them know that the issue has been resolved. All right, a little more. This kind of ties back to what I talked about earlier. 1,400 service requests closed by crews countywide in 2025, addressed within 60 days, 70%. And then working together. We're here tonight not only to present to you, but to listen to you. I've got a big notepad. I've got a big pen. I can take notes. We can take requests out in the lobby on service requests, but here's some of those mechanisms I mentioned earlier, though. You can see our website. Additionally, you can see a phone number where you can call in to us and submit service requests or any general information or questions you may have on services that we do. We will absolutely field those. All right, and now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Joy Johnson, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about what her division does at the district.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, I'm Joy Johnson. I'm the Infrastructure Division Director. Let me go through my slides. All right, so about the county. This is Precinct 1. Precinct 1 goes from Beltway 8 to FM 1960 and west to Highway 90. In Precinct 1, we have, hold on, look, I gotta catch up. He's good. Jason is good at talking, so I need notes. All right. So in Precinct 1, we are made of multiple watersheds. There are 11 watersheds within the precinct. So we stay busy within Precinct 1. Here you see a map of the active, complete, and planned work that we have done so far in Precinct 1 in FY26. And it's roughly combined active, complete, and planned about 60 projects that we have completed thus far. So one thing that we do is debris removal, as Jason mentioned earlier, our FAST team. But along with our FAST team, we do have service centers that help us in doing debris removal. And the debris that we remove, of course, trees, branches, trash, tires, those kind of things that we do. So one of the areas that we completed, and as you see on this picture, is the Antoine Stormwater Detention Basin near Greens Road. And of course, as mentioned before, that allows that our basins are clear to collect water when it rains, and so that we will help alleviate a lot of the flooding that we have in, in our county. All right, so selective clearing. This is a before shot that shows the results of selective clearing in our Turkey Gully. And as you see, the tree branches, how they have blocked the waterways. So one of the things that we do within our selective clearing is clear invasive trees that are preventing the flow of waters within our channels. Sediment removal, and this was mentioned earlier as well. One of the processes that we do is to clear the buildup of the sand, the silt, and vegetation that occurs within our channels. And this happens over time. So as we have different rain events, different things that, naturally your channel is going to do. So we go in there and restore it to its previous condition. That way it can restore the capacity. We're not adding capacity, but we're restoring the capacity of those channels. Also, here's another project that we completed north of South Wind Street between Calhoun Road and St. Lo Road. So we're continuing to clear out our channels within the precinct. Erosion repairs. So as we have gone through our inspections, one of the things that we do is repair erosion. So that could be adding riprap, which is rock that helps to maintain and stabilize the channels, as well as clearing out the sediments and debris. And here's another project that we've completed within Precinct 1, the Garner's Bayou across from Will Clayton Parkway, just west of East Tex Freeway. Additionally, we have maintenance projects that are under construction. So sometimes just having the debris and sediment removed, we also need to go and engineer to make sure that we restore those channels by repairing their erosion, repairing some of the drainage structures that may have been damaged or aged on this channel. So we'll have our engineering group go out, engineer, make sure that we get that channel back to its original capacity. All right, so in addition, in Precinct 1, we've done some planned erosion repairs, as stated before. We've done some channel repairs and sediment removal as well. So this is just another example of some of the work that we've done. All right, working together with our FAST crews. And as mentioned before, our FAST crews are our crews that we can send out immediately to clear channels, remove trash, debris, and homeless encampments, and all those types of things that will cause different blockages to our waterways. So here, our FAST crew is at a project near Tidwell Road and Wayside Drive. And as you see here, all the debris that was removed, whether it's fencing, all types of wood, trees and debris that block our channels. So, all right, so some of the things in Precinct 1, we have done 25% debris clearing. That's generally what we've encountered and statistically have done this far. We've had 21% damaged fallen trees that we've cleared, and we've also had about 17% of unauthorized flood control district property. So that means that there was debris and different types of trash that we've had to clear out on our property. So they were unauthorized use of our property that we've had to clear to maintain, because we need those properties clear, of course, because our goal is to make sure that everything is clear for the waterways. And here's just another example of illegal dumping, about 11% that we've encountered in Precinct 1, erosion and ponding of water. And as Jason stated before, we are here to help you all. We take on your reports, and here is where you can go in and report, do service requests, report your issues. You are our eyes and our ears to the county. It takes the community as well as our employees to find all the work and the different things that you are dealing with within the county. So please feel free to take the QR code, go to our website, report a service request, and or make a phone call. And I'll return it to Emily.
Great. And I know we're already getting some questions from the live stream, which is great. So I just wanted to flag that we'll be addressing questions here in just a little bit. Okay, so when we look at our mowing program, given the amount of infrastructure that we maintain across the county, our mowing program is actually one of our biggest investments when it comes to our maintenance work. You can imagine that 50,000 acres, the 2,500 miles of channel, that's a lot of land, and it takes a lot to mow that. So we mow about 19,000 acres several times per year. And if you think about that, that's an area that's about 22 times the size of Central Park in New York City. That includes our grassline channels, that includes our bayous, our stormwater detention basins, and also really importantly, our buyout lots across Harris County. And our crews follow what we call a seasonal mowing schedule. And what we do is we mow most channels and basins about 3 times a year at really strategic times. And what that does is it helps us manage vegetation, we can reduce invasive plants, and we can also keep our drainage areas more accessible. So there's a strategic process that we follow to really support our overall flood control infrastructure. And with our increased maintenance funds, we've actually increased the amount that we mow. So we used to mow our buyout lots, which if you're not familiar with our buyout program, that's where we purchase a flood-prone property, demolish the structure, move the people to higher ground, and ultimately preserve that space as a place for stormwater to go. We used to mow those buyout lots 8 times a year, and now we do it 10 times a year. So we've been able to really increase that. Our mowing schedule actually begins on Monday. So when we look at where we're mowing in your area, we actually have a live app on our website. It's hcfcd.org/ you guessed it, mowing. And you're able to go there and really see where we're headed next. And so that's a really great tool for people to be able to understand kind of what's going on and where we're headed. Okay. Another important resource we manage is the Harris County Flood Warning System. So you may be familiar with seeing every time it rains, our local news stations have these little dots around the county that show where water is falling. All of that information is actually coming from our system. They're borrowing it from us. We're giving it to them. And so the flood warning system really collects and shares near real-time data on rainfall and water levels along bayous and major tributaries in Harris County. So we use that for emergency planning. We also use it for just awareness with the public. And so you can also view an interactive map on our website at fwsalerts.com. I saw Commissioner walked in. Did he want to say anything?
I asked him, he said carry on.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. I don't know about that, Commissioner, but yeah, it's so good to see you, sir. Mm-hmm. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Okay, so with that little plug about the flood warning system, I should have mentioned, sorry, I got a little distracted. You're able to go to our website here at harriscountyfws.org to really see that real-time data, but one of the things that's unique about our system is that it actually pushes alerts. So you can sign up for alerts at the gauge that's closest to your home, to your kid's daycare. I subscribe to the one near my in-laws' house. And what that really does is it helps get a snapshot of really what's happening on the ground during an event. There have been multiple times where I've called my mother-in-law and said, please don't leave home. The water's a little high near you. And what that really helps do is help people make decisions that are best for them, best for their families. So I would really advocate for this. It's an underutilized resource, and it's one of my passion projects to make sure more people sign up. There's a QR code, spoiler alert. Okay, so now we will open it up to your questions. So as I mentioned, we've got a question online, so I'm gonna start with that one just so that we kind of can start there. But then I will open it up to folks in the room as well, if that's okay. So I think our first question is how we are adapting maintenance practices to account for more intense rainfall events in the Houston area. Jason, do you want to talk about that a little bit? Kind of what that increased rainfall means for us and how we monitor it? I'm pretty loud, honestly.
So obviously rainfall with mapping and looking at that plays a big driver on the other side of the organization, the side that's focused on capital improvement projects. For the maintenance side, really the rainfall, it hampers us. It keeps us from getting out and mowing. We always see more rainfall east of 45 and closer to the coast. But obviously with that additional rainfall, it can create issues where pipes fail, things like that occur. We are working with more sustainability in our system. So some of that forward-looking, forward-moving is where can we get more ecological restoration on our basins, on our channels, help reduce that mowing so the rainfall wouldn't impact us as much there. So to be more, I guess, adaptive on the maintenance side of that, it's where can we embrace more vegetation, you get root stability, you get pollinators and better ecology on our channel system. So from that standpoint, we wouldn't be as hampered as much with the water. And I think it's more just learning to live with the water, understanding our very diverse location on the coast of Texas, going from prairies on the northwest side of town down to the coast, down to more of a piney woods feel to the northeast. The urban center of Harris County kind of in general is very different. So we're always looking at where can we capture water in place, where can we do that through more deep-rooted grasses, more trees, more low-impact development features. All of those types of things are broad things that we use. We utilize them at our facilities. Our base camp in general, our South Service Center base camp, we have a rain garden. That's something we've been piloting. How can we keep more water in place with a rain garden? At our Mike Talbot Service Center towards the northwest side of town, we have a system where everything stays on site. It runs to a system on site, so we're not putting more storm water out to the channels. We're trying to capture as much as we can in place. So those would be some things I would say on the maintenance side as well as in our infrastructure, how we're trying to adapt and keep that water right where it falls instead of letting it run off.
Yeah, I always laugh when I see people doing photo shoots in wildflowers because half the time they're on the bayou. So we planted those on purpose, I promise. Any questions from folks in the room that we can address? Yes, sir.
Quick question. Between Harris County and the city of Houston, where they interact, where they come together, have you guys, how we can really address when the city is saying it's your problem and you are saying that it's the city's problem, and the only thing that happens is that my problem does not get resolved?
Right. We hear that a lot, right? And there's no more frustrating answer than not my problem, right? And we really work to try to not say that to people. So our goal every time we get a service request is to really hunt down and do the research that we need to do to be able to address the question. It doesn't matter if it's us, if it's TxDOT, if it's the city, if it's Timbuktu, right? We want to make sure that we're connecting people with the resources and the people who can actually address the issue. Sometimes I won't lie to you, that goes back decades, right? Sometimes we really have to do some research. Dylan Epley, who's in the lobby here, is one of the guys who does that work, and he does such an incredible job of really digging up those property records. And Myron Jones is also part of the team that really does that work. So I'll turn it over to him to talk about what that back and forth looks like and kind of how that works.
Hi, Myron Jones, Harris County Flood Control Precinct 1 Coordinator. So to follow up what Emily just mentioned, we actually have standing meetings with City of Houston Public Works once a month, where we bounce off issues that we may get that may be City of Houston drainage issues, and vice versa, issues that they may get that may be flood control related. And we found out through that coordination that we're able to get a lot of stuff done, as opposed to just falling on deaf ears and people not knowing who to call or which different agencies. So we've been doing that now for about the last several years, and we found it to be helping out a lot. So, especially in the city limits.
And then one last thing I'll say on that, sir, sorry, is there's also a funding aspect, right? I think, as we mentioned, we at the county got an increased maintenance tax rate. Sometimes that's not true of our friends in other jurisdictions. And so we do have agreements and work with folks on making sure that if it's work that impacts our channels, it gets done, right? We want to make sure that there are either agreements in place or ways for us to make sure that we're working together to build a more resilient system. There was a question over here. Yes, sir.
I have a question. You mentioned that you increased the mowing cycles for the buyout lots from 8 to 10. Is there any talk about increasing the normal mowing cycles from 3 to 4? Based that, the climate's getting warmer. Seems like the growing season's getting longer. Just something to think about down the road. 'Cause I know, Grace Valley gets mowed 3 times a year, but there's times when if we get a lot of rain, it really gets tall, and then, it gets mowed. But is there any talk of actually increasing an extra cycle?
I can definitely speak to that. So, as mentioned earlier, our main goal with the mowing cycles is to keep woody debris from growing in the channels for conveyance issues. And so what we end up seeing is with the taller grasses, it's the invasive species that really grow and jump out there. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the invasive species that really grow and jump out there. So with this additional funding, we're not going to focus so much on going to a 4th mowing cycle on the channels at this point. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting ahead of those invasive species. Your Johnson grass that can get 7 foot high, KR blue stem, and the other things like that. So we brought subject matter experts on this as well here tonight. So Nick Griffin, my colleague in the audience, is here. He's the one who manages the preventative maintenance work. What we're really focused on when we go out with that first mowing cycle and we see these invasive species, we're addressing them with herbicides. We're knocking those things out, keeping them from creating a seed head so they can spread, and we're going to take that approach. So mowing is very expensive. It is funding. If we went to a 4th cycle, that we would really rather go towards our aging infrastructure, concrete repair and replacement. So no plan on moving to a 4th cycle at this point, but we're going to get very, very more robust in the way we address invasive species. And when I say that, I mean every avenue possible through boat operations, water-based operations, drone operations where we have drones that go up with tanks that can target specific areas, UTVs, you name it. If there's a way to try to get out there and address those invasive, we want to do that so that when we mow, the grass stays at a lower level and then we can address it that way. That's our intent at this time.
I mean, I've seen that on Grace Valley where you've done that many years ago. I guess it's called a weed bud program where they would have a tractor just tip the top of the seed with herbicide. Is that what you're referring to that you're going to continue?
It's a little more sophisticated. You're right. Years ago, we had the tractors that would run with the booms with a wick. And so Nick has a little bit more sophisticated operation at this time, but it's very similar to that. As well as on locations like Braves Bayou, you have to remember we have those sponsors, those trail sponsors. So a lot of times where those trail sponsors duck under the road right away or the roads and stuff with their trails, they're the ones doing a lot of that mowing as well. But we do work in coordination with them.
My question, so Fifth Ward, there's a sizable drainage channel called Ingham Gully, and the 45 expansion project is going to impact that. How could we figure out if, the drainage channel is going to be impacted or maintained or altered? Who would be the best person to ask?
And you said it was part of the I-45 project?
Well, it's not. Well, it's going to be impacted by it.
Yeah, so we actually, when it comes to, I would love to, yes. So she was asking about in Fifth Ward, and make sure I get all my facts right, but in Fifth Ward, there's a channel called Ingham Gully. Is that what you said? Oh, is that what you were asking as well? Oh, perfect. She was saying that with the I-45 project that's going in, the channel could potentially be impacted as part of that work, and wanted to know about how to how to sort of be aware of whether it's going to be impacted and maybe what to do about it. Is that a fair characterization? Okay. So when it comes to projects like NHHIP and the 45 work, as well as things, other projects that TxDOT and the City of Houston have going on, if it starts to impact our infrastructure, we have a seat at the table with those agencies to really talk about that, to make sure that their drainage plans don't cause adverse impacts, that they don't adversely impact our infrastructure, and all of those different types of things. So we actually have a crew of, or a team of, I believe it's 4 people who are really at the table reviewing those plans on the 45 project in particular. I can't speak to that channel specifically tonight, but I can absolutely follow up with you and make sure. But I just want you to know that we are at the table in those conversations, making sure that our infrastructure is protected, and ultimately that anything that drains into it makes sense. Did that answer your question as well, ma'am? No?
I'm Alexander Davis. I grew up on Ingraham Jail. It's a gully.
Okay.
And now it's being romanticized. It's this wonderful place. But it's swallowed out the watch from 60 years ago. How far back do you go in terms of the source? Because, we have big ditches, and then they go down to the culverts, and then they go down to the gullies, and they go down into the creeks, and they also get to the streams. And so how far back do you go? And you talked about the, your conversations with the city and that kind of thing. But what happens with those conversations?
Sure.
Because what I am looking at 1809 St. Elmo are weeds that stand, 8 feet tall, and they're in, to me, they're in the Union Pacific right of way, because it's 50 foot within the center line. So, is that a city problem? Is that a railroad problem? And then how much input or sanction or whatever do you have to try to clear those drainage systems so that they ultimately do get to the gully, that will get to the creek, that will get to the bayou?
And on down the line. Sure, absolutely. Okay, so I think there were like 4 parts to that question. So I'm gonna tackle them one by one. I'm actually gonna go backwards in our presentation really fast to answer your question about jurisdiction. Sorry for the flashing, but yes. So here is kind of where we look at jurisdiction. So if you think about the streets, the ditches that are the roadside ditches that you were talking about, and then the storm drains that are in neighborhoods, those are managed by usually the city, if you're in the city of Houston, or if you're in another city, that municipality. In unincorporated Harris County, that's managed by Harris County Engineering or the MUD that exists in that area. And really where we link up with that infrastructure is when it drains into a channel that we own and maintain, or a structure that we own and maintain.
And the channel or structure that you own and maintain is a what?
Usually it's...
Back when you go back to the gully, or you go back to
Yep, usually back to the gully, and you can kind of talk about this too, but typically our main stems, and then we have tributaries as well. So they go pretty far back, but basically anything that drains into those is actually not our jurisdiction. Our job is just to make sure that once water makes it in there, it can move. Does that feel accurate?
Yep, and
Correct.
And I would like to add that it's very confusing on jurisdiction, as you mentioned. Obviously, you can tell with right-of-way. So just as Emily mentioned earlier that the district was founded in 1937, the city of Houston was founded in 1836. So they beat us by 101 years. So they had already built a lot of channels, drainage systems, networks, as well as before the district was created, you had the navigation district that became the Port of Houston on the downstream end. You also had drainage districts, MUDs, PUDs. When the district was created, a lot of those smaller MUDs and PUDs turned over right away to us, and we kind of conglomerated and we built up our infrastructure, but that doesn't mean we're the sole source. So it can be very frustrating and confusing to citizens when they call in. Just like I mentioned, outfalls is the nexus. I'll use as an example, when TxDOT expanded I-10, their outfalls to our channels are so big that they're not outfall pipes, they're whole channels. So we get questions on that all the time. Hey, this is your channel. No, this is a TxDOT outfall, or this is a roadway outfall. It looks like a channel, but when you call those things in, we can help break it down and find out who that owner is. We do have a program, though, where we work with the city of Houston. It's something I'm proud of as well. The city is really set up for managing those buried culverts and drainage ways along roadways and stuff. The district is really geared up for open water channels. So we have a channel ownership program is what we call it, where we swap, where we might have a little bit of encased and closed system that the city's better suited for, and the city may have an open channel that we're better suited for. So we'll do a legal swap at court, and we'll change that to get it to the right kind of group. So we are chipping away at those things little here by here. So.
And then Myron, I know part of your question was about the coordination with the city of Houston and kind of what happens after that. So do you want to talk about we have those regular calls, but kind of what those handoffs look like, how we kind of track it and make sure that we're getting back to residents?
Sure. So when we meet with the city once a month, again, it's not just the folks who are answering the calls, putting in the service requests. We actually got a couple of decision makers with the City of Houston Public Works as well. So again, when we leave those meetings, they'll go back and investigate. We'll go back and investigate. And typically what we found to happen is if it's a City of Houston project that came in through us, the City of Houston, you will get on it pretty quickly, especially if it's, going in, clearing out culverts, things of that nature that has to do with, flooding water and things of that. So they have been very productive. And again, it doesn't take them very long to get out there and do that. So.
Did that answer? Did we hit all of the parts? Did we? No? Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
So we have an area of Trinity Gardens that abuts the railroad, and Myron's gonna probably faint in a second. Because we've been working on this for about 11, 12 years. Because the city part of it is the ditches should drain into a culvert that goes underneath the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
We have 12 lines there. There used to be about 2 or 3 lines there, but over the last 25 or 30 years, they've built it out. And so the railroad never did the drainage underneath the rail line.
Okay.
And so there's where it should fall out on the other side into a tributary that is a county tributary, of course. It doesn't. And so those people flood probably any minute now, but every time it rains, they have to move their cars, they have to do a lot of work. The city tried to alleviate some of that by doing regrading the ditches the way they should have been, but it hasn't alleviated the problem because the water just kind of circles around, kind of like a toilet in that area because it doesn't leave off those 3 or 4 streets to go under the railroad into the tributary, and nobody wants to talk to the railroad. So when she said Union Pacific, I thought, okay, we have the same problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Myron, it sounds like you're familiar. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's been something like Ms. Huey just mentioned that we've been dealing with for a while. Obviously, getting Union Pacific to the table is a task. It's not something we've given up on, obviously, Ms. Huey, but it is something that we still are currently working on. So.
And I think, what I would also say is that it is easier to get partners to the table when we have a volume of inquiries, right? And so I think these kinds of conversations and the fact that we're continuing to have them are actually really helpful proof points for us, I would say. It is really hard, I won't lie to you, but we are really focused on it. Jason, I think there was one more resident question, maybe. Yes, sir.
Let me just throw one more out.
Of course.
Thank you. Every once in a while, we get, trying to get a ditch clean, we find out that it's called orphan ditch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't know who this belongs to.
Mm-hmm.
So, my conversation has always been, if the county drains into it, then someone needs to know, someone should know who owns that ditch.
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts are is that it would be a county ditch. But we have a couple of those in our neighborhood. I live in Houston Gardens, Trinity Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of orphan ditches.
Do you want to talk about that, Jason? Sorry, I'm taking notes. That's why I'm looking down.
Well, the only thing I can do is I can take your name, sir, and circle back with you on that, and we can look into that a little further for you.
Yeah, I do know, we had a comprehensive effort in partnership really with the city, because honestly, most of the orphan channel, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of the orphan channels that we see are where there's maybe overlap or shared responsibility with the city. And we do have a program going on where we're trying to identify all of those and basically assess, do the centuries of research to figure out, where did this come from? Where does it start? We've made pretty good progress on that, but I won't lie, it's going to take us a while because there are quite a few of them and they really are kind of all over the place. But that is a focus for us as we continue to move forward. So as Jason said, if you guys have those in your communities or if you know of them in other communities, we really do want to know about them because we'll add them to our catalog and make sure that we're researching those with the city. Like I said, typically with the city. We had, Jason, did you have a question?
Is there any other questions that I have?
Yes, sir.
All right, great presentation. So question is, and I know part of the answer, but I thought it'd be helpful. West Street Recovery asked, they sent me a question. So it is, how are you guys prioritizing and triaging projects as they come in?
Sure.
With your service requests?
Sure.
I know you're getting lots and you don't have infinite amount of people. And then moving forward, how do you know which projects to focus on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, just thought I'd ask that.
No, that's a great question. I'll answer it, and then Jason, I'll probably look to you to kind of add on. So as we mentioned, our priorities kind of year one and now year 1.5, I guess we kind of are at, have really been on what's coming in from citizens and from residents, and then what we've had on the books as our backlog. So for, I would say, probably 3 decades, we did not have just frankly adequate maintenance funding. And so we were having every year to kind of say, do we want to do this or do we want to do this, right? And so there were projects that were left on the table every year. And when you leave a maintenance project on the table, it doesn't get better, it gets worse, right? And so we're really focused on looking at that backlog and saying which of these carry the most risk, whether that's for the community, for the channel, or for another asset, and making sure that we're really addressing those. As we get inquiries from the community, as you asked, we also do kind of a similar assessment. We have teams who respond usually the next day, really at this point, to assess the site, kind of see, is it within our jurisdiction? Is this something that we can really tackle? And what team internally needs to handle that? And then typically through our FAST program, those really do get prioritized because the responsiveness to the community was frankly a charge of Commissioner's Court, but also something that we just take really seriously. And then as we're looking ahead, we're going through a very, very fun process called asset management. And basically what that is we are cataloging every piece of infrastructure that we have. So that is from a channel to a little pipe that comes out of the channel to every little piece of a stormwater detention basin, and making sure that we really do have a broad portfolio of that. As Jason mentioned, our portfolio of infrastructure was built over 90 years, and really some of it even predates that. And so it has been an exercise to go through the 23 watersheds. We've completed 9, I want to say. And ultimately what that will do is it will help us have a good snapshot of how our infrastructure is performing right now. Where are the issues? And then ultimately we'll be able to factor in things like vulnerability of the community, the last time that things were touched in that area, et cetera, to really make decisions about where to prioritize work. That is something that is sort of on the horizon. Right now we're really focused on tackling that backlog, and again, the requests that are coming in. Anything you want to add?
Yep.
Okay.
No, the only thing I would add to what Emily said is whenever we embarked on this journey, and it is a journey with all the constituents of Harris County, some of you might have attended our educational meetings where we met with the public. We told the public we were going to address our backlog, and that has been our focus year 1. That is our focus year 2, and we see that backlog starting to wrap up as we wrap up or move into FY27 in year 3 of the overall program. As Emily mentioned, the asset management program coming on, we're looking at watersheds. We are through 8 of the 23 right now. We're digitizing all this information. We're getting it into an overall program. And all of these assets have a trigger threshold of what kind of condition. Just like asset management, there's a condition on the asset of how bad is this asset. So as we get this data in, we'll be able to look at those assets and say, these are really bad. These really need to be taken care of. and we can work on focusing on them and starting to work on what Emily mentioned, what is on the horizon with prioritization. And there's so much talk of prioritization across so many programs, resiliency programs, countywide strategic programs on resiliency and prioritization on other projects the district does for improvements. So we're kind of looking across the board. We're looking at what's been done elsewhere, and then we're still working on that overall piece that'll come online at a later date. So we're focused now on wrapping up that backlog, transitioning once we get all the data in on the asset management program, and then looking forward ahead at getting more resiliency and sustainability into our systems.
And I'll just note too, where part of that that kind of prioritization work is going to happen over this summer, and Commissioner Ellis has been, I mean, at the table on all of that, making sure that equity and some of those considerations are obviously front and center in those conversations. Sir.
Hi, I'm Charles Goodwin. I'm president of the Raised Light Association, and this is Jack Studnicki. He's the vice president of the Raised Light Association. He was president of the Raised Light Association back when they were the ones that initiated and advocated very much for Project Raise.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows Project Raise. So he's one of the instrumental individuals for bringing that to the attention of Harris County Flood Control, Corps of Engineers, all that. So I always try to give him kudos for that.
I love that.
Very, very important person there. We had a question about the open earthen beach channel ditches that have no concrete support in them at all.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a number of them, just two examples, Chimney Rock and South Rockies.
Mm-hmm.
They've been sloughing down so bad from the very beginning. Starting out at Willcrest, Gessner, Fondren, Hillcroft, those were all enclosed after they realized how much they were failing in the early 60s and 70s and the 80s. For some reason, they stopped at Hillcroft coming to the east. They put 6 or 7 of them to the west. They stopped there. So you have these two ditches. So there's no concrete support whatsoever. And it's sort of like a 2-to-1 grade. So you really can't even walk on them. You know, they're just impossible to maintain. Manhole stacks that were 8 to 10 feet off of the edge of the bank are now on the bank or actually inside the ditch itself. So that's how much it's moved since then. The surrounding streets are collapsing. What they did with the other ones, Chimney, Hillcroft, they came in with large box culverts. So they didn't lose any storage capacity. They came in with large box culverts, and so they made a big channel, straightened everything up, and then we made it to where it was maintenance free basically. It also became a city infrastructure issue because it was enclosed at that time. They haven't needed any maintenance since then. I was just wondering why that stopped. Apparently they stopped that in the 80s. They're looking at the earthen ditches. I don't know the approach they had. We're not talking about reducing the storage capacity of these ditches, but doing it. And it's become something that was maybe desilted once every 10 years, 5 years, now it's 3 years or more. And so you're actually taking out so much more material. So anyway, it's just one of those things that's kind of been a bug in my backside that, I see such a simple fix there. Yes, it'll cost up front dollars, but in the long term, it will help with not just the ditch, maintaining that, but the surrounding infrastructure like the streets that run on both sides of these ditches.
Sure, yeah. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to our resident historian who also leads maintenance, Jason Cron.
We can definitely take a look at that. If I can get your name and number, we'll definitely go out and look at the channels that you have flagged, or we can maybe get with Dylan in the lobby and have him flag it as well, and have our property management team go out and see if there are channels, if there's any immediate danger to them or anything like that. But they sound like candidates for doing that. There's different various engineering reasons and things they would look at for the sizing and all that type of stuff. But if I can get some a little bit more specifics on the ones you have concerns on, we'll look into it.
Full transparency, I walked the area with Russ Poppy and Gary Zika.
Okay.
And this was before Harvard.
Okay.
So they were trying to wrap up Project Raise. They said, hey, we need to emphasize, no money at one time, So now we have some maintenance dollars coming in. We got some Harvey money that's, may or may not be there. That was, the big
that's, yeah, we'll definitely get with you and make sure we get that information and.
I've got 11 more questions. One more question. And,
Yeah.
Goes back to Michael Kubash used to come to the Braves Bayou Association and talk about cars and bayous and things like that. I know he was very aggressive with Mr. Miller and some of the others in taking the cars and buying cars and bayous and things like that. And do I understand that they got to a certain point and stopped removing vehicles from the bayous, and that there's still dozens left?
Do you know about that, Jason?
I think that was a city program that we partnered and gave them temporary rights of entry and stuff to come in and do that work. I do remember seeing it on the news, but I don't remember what our participation was with that.
Did you hear that?
It was on lower Braves,
Yeah.
some of those areas.
Okay,
Yep.
I just want to make sure it carried.
There's some in Buffalo, and there was a number of them in Braves, but it was something that, then all of a sudden, I know the word came out that they had reached a certain point where they had no more funding, or I'm not sure what it was, but there were still dozens of identified vehicles through EquiSearch, or whoever it was, that identified them with their boats,
Mm-hmm.
metal detectors or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they were never able to get them out. Apparently there are some mounds by mainly the lower parts of Braves that are not concrete lined. And
Sure.
also Buffalo Bayou and Meadows.
Okay, well, it sounds like what Jason was saying is that we were giving access to the city of Houston to come and do that work, so we can follow up with them, kind of figure out when that might have stopped and the rationale for that, and get back to you.
That I know is a big news story.
Yeah, yeah.
I looked for bodies, and I think they found some crime scenes and things like that.
Oh gosh, less fun. Yes. We have 3 questions from the live stream that I want to do really quickly. One is, and I'm sorry I don't have names for these, but one is when the NESNU, which is the Northeast Super Neighborhood United Comprehensive Project Initiative, will start. So that is a planning effort that we initiated with some federal funding. We're partnering with the Harris County Office of Housing and Community Development. I always have to get that acronym right, HCD, on that effort. And what it really does is, I'm not tall enough for this, but it really does look at almost a big rectangle that is sort of in Northeast Harris County. And that is an effort to look at not just flood control district infrastructure, but also in partnership with the city of Houston and the community to really analyze that area, see what needs to be done, because I think we all know that there's a lot of work needed. That initiative, at least the data gathering part of that, has started. We are working with the city to pull everything that we have on file, everything that they have on file, and then also anything that folks like Bayou City Initiative, or Bayou City, what are they? Jim Blackburn and his groups. Yes, I can never remember the name of his organization. Bayou City Waterkeepers, yeah. Anyway, pulling any information that they have as well and kind of putting that all into one place. The plan as we move forward with that study is to have significant community engagement. So we'll be engaging with the NESNU group and really opening that up to the community as well as we move through it, because our data is only as good as the validation of the community on kind of what we're looking at. And ultimately what we hope that will lead to is a portfolio of projects for us and for the city and for any other partners that are in that area. One other question was, how does the flood control district prioritize maintenance requests in neighborhoods with repeated flood risk? So I think we spoke about that a little bit. Right now we're really focused on the backlog, but as we look ahead, I would anticipate that the repeated flood risk would sort of correlate with some of the asset conditions as well. And then the last question that at least I've gotten so far, and Randall, correct me if I'm wrong, is that someone wrote, we have residents who share backyards, whose backyards share boundaries with Halls Bayou or tributaries. There's heavy erosion. What solutions will you do to allow those property owners to keep their square footage? And it looks like that channel is P1180106, according to this person. So Jason, do you want to talk about that kind of at a high level? But I know we have a lot of capital work, which is where we're really basically rebuilding channels along those Halls Bayou tributaries as well.
No, absolutely. We can look into the channel that was submitted, the P1180106. So many times these channels are on original right-of-way where it may be lacking in width. And then as we have erosion over time, there may be needs to come in and acquire more right-of-way for maintenance, acquire more right-of-way for a larger project to address the solution. So that might be an option or something that they would have to look into, as well as other types of engineering solutions in this situation. But without seeing specifically, I can't speak to what could be kind of done at this location unless we looked at the right-of-way and what was kind of needed out there. But I will definitely make a note of that. And if the requester would like to submit their name or contact information email, we will definitely circle back with you.
I think that was Miss Mayhorn. She texted me. So, Miss Jackie Mayhorn. Yes, sir.
Another question. I saw on your map that you completed a project on Port Farm Ditch through the city of Westview, a maintenance project. I know y'all did the west side of the ditch, but the east side, there's some encroachment issues. This is between, Sunset and University. Are y'all still working through that to try to get that?
We are still working. There's
I know
stuff going on out
it's a
there.
big issue, 'cause I live right around there and I've seen the issues there, so,
We've done some work on the west side.
Yeah.
We've also done some preventative work. We applied a material called Vetro Fluid to some of the older concrete to help strengthen it and keep it in place as well. And then we're also looking at other work. So I have my other subject matter expert, Jason Brock, here, sitting directly in front of you. He's very intimate with the work going on at that location as well. So he can definitely.
Sure.
Okay. Are there any other live stream questions? No. Any other questions in the room? No. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
How are you going to, what is anticipated with the creation of the canal and the straightening of Vallejo downtown? That's going to move a lot more water towards the east, and you have Grays and Hunting and Sims and all of those that will be, I think, stymied by the increased flow that's coming from the west. What's being done to analyze what will happen to the Erie Basin?
Oh, the North Canal. That's a big project, as I'm sure you know. So the City of Houston's the lead on that effort, and we are a big funding partner. And as a funding partner and as the owner of a lot of the channels that you just mentioned, we're actually working with them to design the project. And so we don't have the team here tonight that's working on that, I'll be honest with you. But I do know that the guy who leads it sits next to me in the office, and I feel like he's on the phone about it all the time. And so there's a lot of coordination about making sure that there's no increased, flood risk downstream, that they're not kind of choking channels and things like that. We can kind of get you the latest on that coming out of this meeting, but since that's more on the capital side, we don't have that team here tonight. So I don't want to make things up for you. Any other questions? Okay, and I got, Ms. Mayhorn, if you can hear me, I got one more text from her. We'll follow up with her kind of coming after this meeting. I think the live stream is dropping maybe for her just a little bit. But I just wanted to say thank you. I know that, there's a lot of maintenance work that's needed. There's a lot that's in our queue already, and we know that there's a lot more that we haven't even identified yet. And that's part of why in tonight's conversation we had such an emphasis on the service requests. We have a big team at the Flood Control District, but we have even more channels than we have people. And so it's really helpful for us to get those service requests. We really do try to address them as quickly as possible. We've been able to cut our response times by more than half since we got this increased maintenance funding and the manpower that comes with that. So I just really appreciate everybody talking about probably the least glamorous work sometimes that we do, but in my opinion, some of the most important. And I really hope that everybody just stays engaged in this conversation, and we'll plan to have more of these in the future. So thank you all.